Hey guys, so I just finished recording this what sold video, and then I realized that I didn't start off by thanking two of you viewers for buying us some coffee. So I have the link down below in my description I've told you about before. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to Julie or Jules, who bought myself a coffee along with Mr. Pish Posh, and then Charlene also. So thanks for the comments you include in there, as well as far as what it is that you've seen or watched in my videos that you appreciated. So anyway, I wanted to make sure to put that in there before I forgot. All the support from everyone is so much appreciated, whether it's just a comment on my video or sharing it or liking it or all that kind of stuff, watching it. That does help us so much. So again, thanks everybody for your support. I sold some neckties. Hey everybody, we are going to be talking about what we sold in our online shops such as eBay, Poshmark, Depop, Etsy, Ruby Lane from the week, like second week of October, around there. This is just 6 days worth of stuff that I just wanted to share with you. Like I said, I spent a day listing like 10 neckties. I think I've sold 3 or 4 of them already. Mr. Pish Posh has been helping me attack my belt backlog. And so we're just trying to catch up on some things we've just accumulated. You guys know I have the necktie videos and the belt videos and things like that. And so they're just things that I tend to look at every time I go to the thrift store. Usually can find something halfway decent, but then it kind of accumulates pretty quickly. Life of a reseller. So we're going to start off with this 50s necktie I had picked up at a thrift store for like 50 cents or a quarter or something like that. I got it even because it had the interesting design on it. It reminded me of a hashtag. So I threw that in the title, and it sold. Of all the ones I listed, I didn't think this one was like the greatest tie that I listed. It didn't have many stains on the front, but it had like some staining on the back, on the lining. But it's the one that sold like super quickly for $20. I was happy about that. So I do tend to like, if we talked about ties in the video, vintage ties. I have a separate video about vintage ties, and I find that my ties actually do sell pretty quickly because I'm very selective when I'm out buying neckties to flip for a profit. So anyway, let's move on. I'll show you some of the other ties that we sold during that week. This is well, as you can see, it's an X-Men figure. I think this is something Mr. Pish Posh picked up. The Goodwill one day had a bunch of toys like new in package. So I don't know if it was like Target, like things, discards or things like that. Because a lot of times Goodwills have that agreement with Target to get a lot of their shelf pulls. This one sold for $17. A lot of times the new, toys, not that I don't necessarily recommend the flip, but I think it was one of those days where like my son was thrifting with us, and so they just decided to do it kind of for fun together, and they still made a profit. Here's a pair of safety glasses that basically just sold based on being vintage. The aviator style, kind of the funkiness of them is what sold them. They sold for the full $34.99. I do see that it was a repeat buyer, but I'm not sure what else that buyer has bought from us in the past, so that's interesting. So yeah, no big name or anything associated with this, but just the look of it. Interesting kind of vintage sunglasses seem to sell pretty well for us. Here's another of the neckties that sold. I'm not sure necessarily this was vintage because I think they still kind of make them this way, but whenever I see these wool ties that were made in Scotland, I usually pick them up. They usually have the name of the tartan or the clan on the back on the label, and so this was the Austin Tartan or Austin Clan or whatever, however you want to say that. This sold for $22.99. And that was in that grouping of ties that I listed initially on that one day. So again, sold pretty quickly. This was a fun sale. This sold for $130. It is a football player ceramic bank. It was from the 60s, and it said on the bottom, it said the Fighting Illini. Do you guys know? I don't know. It was like the commercial bank of Champaign. So Illinois, I'm assuming. And anyway, let me see if I can. There was another mark on it. The maker of the bank, F-A-K, Fred Kale, I guess, Fred A. Kale. Anyways, there's some other banks by this maker, football style ones or whatever. I had gone back to that ongoing estate sale that I told you had kind of petered out, but I hadn't been there in a really long time. And so they had some items from a new estate in there, just not, the prices were kind of back up pretty high, and things like that. So, but that day I went, I saw this, I Google Lensed it. I saw some comps. I think I looked on Terapeak actually as well while I was out and about. And while I was at that thrift, and I saw like a 75 and I saw 100 and things like that. So I was like, $10 is what they were asking. I felt okay bringing that home. And this one sold probably within a week for about $130. So I thought that was a nice little pickup. So, it just goes to show you don't necessarily have to know everything about everything. And there's some vintage sports stuff that will not sell. But because we have tools at our disposal, we have Google Images, we have Terapeak, we have different things on our phone, there was information right on the statue itself, and so or on the bank itself, and so I was able to use all that in order to make a decision on whether to purchase it or not. I'm just glad it went quickly. Some more of the kind of fun stuff. I just think it's fun to sell stuff like this. It's this old package of casters. These furniture wheels sold for $18.99. You just never know who needs what, right? You just never know. Stocking cap. Fleece cap by Carhartt, and it was the FR, the fire resistant or whatever. It did have a logo on the side, which is probably what kept it from us listing it even higher. But fire resistant clothing, if people need it for work, they're okay with the logo. I don't think would be a big deal for them because they're going to get a good deal on the price of it. But sometimes the fire resistant stuff is something that maybe their job requires that they have. So $18.99 for that beanie. And I'm sure it came from our little clearance center. Here's kind of similar to the furniture casters, just something new old stock. We always love picking that up. This sold for $25. They are the pedals to a vintage bicycle. And these took a while. These did not sell super quickly, but like, how cool is that? Anyway, you just needed the right buyer to come along to get it. This is just the strap. I think the harness for binoculars, Vortex binoculars. My son has a pair, so I'm kind of on the lookout for this logo, the Vortex logo. We've sold hats. If I find a hat in good condition, my son usually keeps it. He likes that logo. And so I think this was just something we picked up. Mr. Pish Posh spotted it somewhere, like a bag at Goodwill or something like that, and knew that, somewhere along the line. I think I've sold like the empty case for the binoculars before we've come across. And so just little accessories to go along with this. This sold for $18.99. And here's some teaspoons that I shared with you on a Flatware Friday when I did like a haul video from our trip of the flatware I picked up on our trip. This sold for, these 7 cantata teaspoons sold for $29.99. And we're happy about that. Then another necktie. This one sold for a little bit higher, for $33, not the full $39.99. $33. This was an older necktie, 30s, 40s, but it kind of had puffy paint. A little, you know, it was like hand painted on there. But I just thought the theme was really good. We've got the pyramids, we've got palm trees, things like that. And so actually I think I recognized the buyer's name as someone I've sold to before in like the Facebook necktie group that I'm in. I thought about offering the ties directly in that group. I mean, I could have. I just was on a roll listing things on eBay that day, and I didn't feel like doing it twice. So if I did it on Facebook and then they didn't want to, if no one was interested, then I kind of would waste that time. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I always figure I can go the other way. I can start it here and do Poshmark and Depop and different sites, Etsy, and then those Facebook buyers are also on these sites too. So, you know, the Facebook group benefit would be that, sorry, I was getting a phone call, so it like distracted me for a second. The benefit would just be the less fees, right? You just have the PayPal fees when you sell directly on a site like that. So we'll see. Some of them I might just, if they don't sell, I have a couple other 30s, 40s that haven't sold yet. And if they don't, then maybe I'll try them over on that group too. And I can put the name of the group in the description down below if anybody's interested. But anyway, I wanted to share. I think it's okay. I don't know. I just think it's funny. So the username for the buyer, I'm not saying their name, but their username cracked me up. It was, "I'm not going to pay a lot for this muffler." And I'm like, it's like funny because a muffler is also like a scarf, right? And I know this person collects like vintage menswear and things like that, but I just think that's funny. So I just thought I would share that. It's very clever. I should message him and tell him so. Okay, some tool, like a hand tool. I don't know. I forgot to ask Mr. Pish Posh anything about this, whether it was his or something he just picked up like on one of our thrifting trips. But this sold for $17. And a little headband, ear warmer headband fleece, vintage, sold for $15. Yeah, I think it was an offer. We had maybe the sale going, but then it was an offer that came in or something like that. We just wanted to move some stuff. $12 for this teaspoon. I shared this also in that same video when I was sharing my finds. This was just a single Mikasa spoon that I found, and it was probably in one of the bags, right? And anyway, added $12. I knew the pattern. No, maybe I picked this up loose, but anyway, I knew I had sold it before, Mikasa, and so I was okay picking that one up. So that was on sale and it sold for $12. This next one, I think, was an offer. It sold for $27.99. Oh, I guess that is the sale price. It's a reversible vest by Woolrich, and on these types of reversible vests, like if you're looking at a vest or a jacket and you don't see a tag on it and then you're like, oh, it's reversible, make sure you look in the pockets. So there's usually a tag somewhere in the pockets, and a lot of times thrift stores don't know that. They don't recognize, or they just go, oh, look, it's a vest with no labels. And so they just price it for whatever, right? But if you dig around, sometimes you can find a name brand. Now, I don't remember what thrift store it was I found this at. I have a feeling it was at one of the ones that if they had seen Woolrich, they would have priced it higher. I'm not saying it's, look, I sold it for $27.99. It wasn't a huge dollar item, so whatever I paid for it was probably fair and good. Considering that sometimes thrift stores just think, oh, Woolrich, and they price it like super high, and that doesn't really sell that high. Only select pieces do. It's more bread and butter is what we've found. We sold this diner mug with kind of random information about Cairo, Nebraska. It's kind of like those ads that you would see in the back of a freebie newspaper or something like that. Anyway, it sold, we had it on sale, $13.59, and it and it sold. Somebody wanted that mug. I love diner mugs, right? And then we have sold this style hat by the Glacier Nordic Ski Team. Obviously, it's something local to us, but we come across this hat fairly often and have sold it 3 times fairly quickly. So it's, I don't know, it's like a skiing cap, so I don't know if you wear it by itself or if it goes under your ski helmet or something like that, but we just sold it for $13.59 because it was on sale. Moving over to Poshmark, we sold a pair of cool pants, Kuhl, for $50. These were men's kind of carpenter style pants, and cool pants still seem to be doing not too bad. This next one was a bundle. I just wanted to share the bundle with you. The next 3 items all went to the same buyer. And she paid $50. We kind of negotiated. I took a $50 offer for these 3 things, and it was 3 things out the door. So coffee filter, Melita, these pour over plastic ones we sell fairly regularly, and then we had some coffee filters we threw in with it. Some Sperry shoes. I had thought maybe I would wear these, but they didn't quite work out. So I threw them online, and then I just found these vintage boots. I just thought were so cool because they were like 3 different colored, like patchwork kind of style to the boot, and they sold as part of that bundle for $50, like I said. And we sold this Custoboda votive candle holder type thing for $34 over on Posh. Don't forget, you can sell vintage home goods on Posh. They sell, and they do good and they don't do good, and you just never know. It's one of those things, you never know where things are going to sell, but sometimes stuff still kind of surprises me where it ends up selling. So Posh had made a change that like right before this week that I'm talking about, where they changed their seller buyer fees, and we were definitely getting more lowball offers because they had added a buyer fee to the buyers. And the people were protesting that quite a bit, and because they were now facing a fee, they were offering a lot less. So Poshmark just announced today that they are going back to their old way of doing fees. So they're back to it was like it never happened. Just pretend it never happened. 20%. And even though that seems high, we've talked about it before, I feel like eBay is not far behind. By the time you do all the hoops and stuff that you jump through in order to get a sale on eBay, a lot of times with discounts and promoting and things like that. So, Poshmark, anyway, I don't really have favorites that much anymore, just because there's things about each one I like and don't like, and that's my story. But then, look, we sell these more vintage on Poshmark, $50 for these half rim eyeglasses. I picked these up at a yard sale this summer, and I remember getting them because I just thought it was so cool that they sent things in the mail, like eyeglasses, came from the doctor this way. And I thought that was just interesting to see the original packaging and things like that. So those sold for $50. And Columbia PFG, oh my goodness, I just need to give up already on this. Just like, I don't like, these shirts do not sell for that much. Like, if you're good with $15 to $20, that's totally fine. If you're gonna get them super cheap, and you want to try to sell them, but for us, they sell pretty slowly, and then we just end up taking some kind of offer just to get rid of them. So PFG used to be, it's like their fishing line, used to be one of my, like, you get so excited to find some PFG shirts. You know, it's not like they sold super high, but they would sell pretty quickly. But I just don't think it's, either they're oversaturated or something like that. But I just got to stop when I see them. I do pass up a ton. I pass them up all the time, but every once in a while I give in. This was such a fun little jacket. It was just something I picked up at a local thrift store. Denim, very Western kind of looking, but it had the little peplum, and it was lined in black lace all along here. And so that sold for $30. Denim and Supply, it was a line of Ralph Lauren that I was about to say I don't know that they're doing Denim and Supply anymore, but that could be wrong. I'm not sure. I have to think about that one again. But anyway, it didn't sell for a whole lot, sold for $20. Just kind of like a button shirt, not quite a flannel, just kind of I just thought it would do better than it did. And then an Adidas beanie hat that sold for $20. See, I'd much rather sell a hat for $20 than a whole shirt. That's just my weirdness. Depop, we sold this hat for $25. So South Carolina Gamecocks, just a beanie with a logo on it. Happy about that one. Sold a men's sports coat, just a vintage brand, Andrew Fezza, nothing special. This sold more around the $30, I think we either sent or got an offer. I can't remember, but that sold for about $30. Then another beanie, this sold for less than $24. I want to say like 19 or 17 or something like that. It's Fjallraven, which is like a brand I love to look out for. Just picked this up at the bins one day. I think it was a little pilly. We did a little depilling. And you definitely want to look for that little fox on bags, on jackets, on shirts, things like that. It's a good brand to know about. Then some Doc Martens. I think this pair, Mr. Pish Posh, these were his. Like, I remember he was wearing them for a while, and I guess he decided to sell them. So they sold for $45. I think that was the actual price. Now moving over to Etsy. I know I did a video about increasing our patterns, doubling the size of my pattern shop with the help of my son. And this was the first pattern from his efforts that sold. And it sold for $18. Now it is getting, so I have a sale running in the store right now. So for whatever reason, it's showing my sold prices as the sale price, even though this has already sold and gone, and it sold for its full $18 asking price. Anyway, that's why it shows $14.40. And it's been taking, sales have picked up recently, so it did take a few weeks to kind of get any momentum going with seeing some increased sales because of increased listing. I know we still have a long way to go as far as getting the numbers up where I think we would have sales on a more regular basis. So we're just still plugging away at it, and we'll probably just do an update video at the end of the month just because we don't have a whole lot to report right now. Over in the other Etsy shop, these stainless egg cups sold for $29.99. They went to France and they sold very quickly. I picked these up at like Goodwill or I don't know, some thrift store not too long ago. And they sold for $30. Like I said, they went to a music producer and it went to his business. So it was either going to him directly to use in a production, because it said he produces music and videos and plays and all sorts of things. So I always feel weird saying people's names out loud because, like, I don't know. It's, if I see it in something, it's not like it's going to a generic, like, production of a specific show that I could be like, hey, it might be in this show. It could just be going to him personally, so I'm not going to say anything. Okay, and then one of our favorite style of mugs to sell, we've said this before, the no spill wide bottom mugs, plus we've got some pottery going on at the same time, and so that sold for $25. Now, we're going to hop over to Ruby Lane to talk about some more vintage that sold, but what I wanted to say is that the next 9 sales on Ruby Lane all went to the same person. I was so excited. I couldn't believe, like, I opened up this order and this woman had like all this stuff in her order and I was like, okay. And so she didn't message me or anything, but she hadn't paid yet. And so I'm like, all right, we'll see what happens. Well, I ended up changing the shipping for her because it had just added up all the shipping. So I changed the shipping. And I sent her the new total, and then I still didn't hear anything. And it took about a day, and then all of a sudden I got the money in PayPal. And I was like, oh my goodness, she paid for that. 9 items out the door. Nothing major, high priced or anything like that, but like it all added up to about $111. So I was like, sure, I'll take that. So one of the items she bought was this purple and chrome hairbrush for $12. This Bakelite handled cake or pie server from the 1930s, which was really cool. Is I found the patent design for this. It had a patent number on it, and so you can Google the patent number, and I found the little schematic kind of drawing of it. It was kind of cool. I like vintage nerdy stuff like that. So then she bought this little toy iron, play iron by Ohio Art. It has seen better days. These were fun. Sales like this, finds like this just bring joy to my heart. I don't know why, but they were these novelty kitchen gadget potato spears. Like it says you bake the potato from the inside out. So I think you just stick them inside your baked potato when you're cooking them, and then the metal heats up and it cooks the inside faster. That was my understanding of it. Those sold for $15 in her bundle. This purse for $15. A brooch for $12, just Avon. And then she bought some books that I mostly had picked up because of the covers. So this little kids book for $11, this one for $10, and then this one for $10. So like I said, it's like, it wasn't like any major purchases, but she just kind of gathered them up. And that's kind of the buyer that I want to cultivate on Ruby Lane. Because I do find fun vintage that's not worth a ton. And sometimes you're like, if I list this, then we have to use packaging and da-da-da. But it's kind of nice if you have a lot of that kind of thing and you have a buyer who does that. And then they come in and just kind of like buy a bunch of little things. It can add up. And I move a bunch of stuff at once. And it's a win-win all around. So another sale that week was this cute little photo album and 1-year diary set. I think I picked up at an estate sale or yard sale or something like that. I think I still have one or the other. I had 2 of one of these, which I listed in a separate listing, but then I put these 2 together and that sold for $25. Okay, so as always, that was my second week of October. But as always, leave me a comment down below how your October is going in the resale world. And I will see you guys If I don't see you sooner, I will see you on Flatware Friday again. And I hope you guys are doing well with your thrifting and flipping and reselling. And I will talk to you guys later.